Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I am going to work on making some yummy Christmas treats. So I am going to give you a fair warning. If you do not like sugar, if you are extra crunchy, this is probably not going to be the video for you. That's okay. Come on back to the next one maybe, but today I am going to be making a lot of stuff that is just super fun to have around our house around Christmas time. These are classic fun treats that we have every year, and so I thought that I would just show you guys a few of these things. So I will say one of the things I love so much about all three of these recipes is that they are all pantry ingredients. There is nothing coming from the freezer or the refrigerator for any of these. So butter is the only thing that does not come directly from the pantry, but everything else does, and that is only even in one of the recipes, and butter isn't even mandatory. So I would say that these are all pantry recipes. So I am going to show you guys 3 things that I make every December that my family really loves. So the first recipe that I am going to work on is my favorite fudge recipe. This is like a peanut butter fudge, and it is something that I have been making since I was a little girl. My mom taught me this recipe. I don't even know where she learned it. I'm sure it's been around for a long time, but this is the easiest fudge recipe that you are ever going to find, I promise. So we are going to have 3 ingredients. The first one is peanut butter. So I'm going to do about 1.5 cups. I actually don't even measure it at this point, just about 1.5 cups, around about, of peanut butter, just creamy peanut butter, right in whatever dish you want to even serve this in. That seems good. And then just to make sure that this fudge is soft, even though there is some fat in the peanut butter, I'm going to add a little bit more fat in the form of butter. So I am just going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter to that. And then the key, I guess, the secret to this are these vanilla cream drops. I will say that in the last few years, I have had a more difficult time finding these, but they are still available. I found these at Dollar General. I have seen them at Walmart, but not this year. I have not seen them this year there. I did get these this year at Dollar General though. And you can usually find these at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, like close to the checkout counter. Now, most places you can only find them around Christmas, but Hobby Lobby and Michael's tend to have these year round because I've bought them at other times other than just around Christmas. So I am going to use 2 packages of these, and I'm going to pour it directly into my container with my peanut butter and my butter. So this is going to give us some chocolate. It's going to give us the vanilla. And it's going to be what, I don't know, fudges up. I don't know, what makes this into fudge and not just buttery peanut butter. Okay, so I'm going to take this and put this directly into my microwave just like this for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to pull it out and immediately start stirring it. Ooh, it's hot. Okay, so that microwave has melted the butter and that chocolate and gotten that peanut butter really hot, and the cream part inside of those candies is also melted. That's the part that's going to really turn this into fudge. So I am just going to stir this pretty vigorously, making sure that I'm scraping the sides and the bottom, getting all of that melted chocolate and melted cream mixed in with the butter and the peanut butter. If you see that you have some like big pieces of candy or whatever that have not melted all the way through, you can stick it back in the microwave for about 30 more seconds. 30 seconds at a time or so, just until everything is melted nice together, which I can see that I need to stick mine back in. So I'm going to do that now. So that is our peanut butter chocolate fudge. So I am going to set this aside and let this cool. You can put it in the refrigerator if you want to cool it even quicker, but it is done. That is the simplest fudge that I have ever made, bar none. All right, so I have to bend down so you guys can see me. So the next recipe that we are going to work on is a s'mores mix. So this one actually my daughter came up with, who is 10 10. She really loves s'mores, and she came up with this recipe, and we have just been doing it pretty consistently since she made it. And so what we are going to do is we are going to start with a dry, very important, dry, clean bowl. I'm gonna put it on top of, I have a pan of like simmering water right here. And I'm just gonna stick this on top. We're gonna make a double boil. We're gonna make a double broiler. And I have about a cup and a half of milk chocolate chips. And I'm gonna let the heat from the boiling water, it's kind of simmering, I have it on a pretty low. I'm gonna let the heat from that melt my chocolate chips. So the reason that you wanna melt your chocolate chips this way instead of doing it like in the microwave is this is just going to guard against burning. If you have ever tried to melt chocolate chips in the microwave, you know that it is very easy to burn them. You just want to be careful to not get any of that steam or water in with your chocolate, because water and chocolate are enemies, and that will cause that, even the least little bit of water will cause that chocolate to just seize right up, and then it will be gone. There's nothing that you can do to fix that. Okay, so my chocolate is all nice and smooth and melted. And so the next thing that I am going to add are golden grahams. So in s'mores, you have chocolate, graham crackers, and marshmallows, and this is going to be our graham cracker. So you can measure this out if you really wanted to. In the end, I'm probably gonna use about a cup. I have just some mini marshmallows that I'm gonna add to that as well. Just not that many. I use a lot less marshmallows because we prefer the graham crackers to the marshmallows. And then I'm just going to give this a stir. So you don't necessarily need this to be completely coated. If you find that you need a little bit more graham crackers, add that in. If you want to add more marshmallows, add that in. It does not have to be completely coated, but we like a lot of chocolate in our house, and so I am going to cover it as well as I can. All right. And then from there, once it is, make sure the bottom of that is dry. Once it is all combined, I am going to take it and just put it on a piece of parchment paper. I have parchment paper laid down on my countertop, and I'm just going to kind of spread this out. If you wanted to make this a little bit more Christmassy, then some red and green sprinkles would look really pretty on here. But that is it for that one. So I am going to set this aside and let this kind of cool and let that chocolate harden back up, and then we will be able to break this apart and put it in a jar, and it is our s'mores mix all finished. The last thing that we are going to make is also kind of the most daunting seeming. I promise though that once you do it, you will probably be like, that's it? That's all it was. But we are going to make some homemade marshmallows. Now, I am not a marshmallow fan. I do not like to eat them at all. I do not put them in my hot chocolate. Even if I make s'mores, I will do the least amount of marshmallow possible. But these, oh my goodness, these are amazing. So I am starting with 3 packets, just little packets of unflavored gelatin. You can find that in like the Jell-O section of your grocery store. And then on top of that, I put a half a cup of cold water. I am not going to stir this. I'm not going to do anything else with this right now. This needs to bloom. So I am going to set this aside, and then I am going to start working on the sugar part of our marshmallows. So for the sugar part of our marshmallows, I'm pulling out the big guns. So I'm gonna do a cup and a half of granulated sugar. So I am just using cane sugar here, just white granulated sugar. I'm gonna add a half a cup of water. That's just gonna help that sugar dissolve and melt and just do what you need it to do. And then I'm going to add a cup of this just light corn syrup. If you don't want to do corn syrup, I believe you can do agave syrup, and you can also just do more granulated sugar, but I have never tried that before. So I don't actually know how that is going to change the texture at the end, because that's why we want the corn syrup, so that we have the correct marshmallow texture. I have seen that you can spray your cup to get that corn syrup out. Works for like honey and stuff too. For this specific recipe, it does not have any other fat in it, so I am not going to chance getting any of that in my actual sugar, because I don't know what that's going to do to it in the end. So I did not spray it. I'm just going to use my spatula and scrape it out. All right, from here, I'm going to take it over and put it on my stove and get this melting. So it's going to take us about 10 minutes for that sugar to dissolve and come up to temperature. We are going to pull out a candy thermometer and check it, because I do need it to be 240 degrees. But in the meantime, I'm going to prepare my dish for this. So you want to remember that marshmallows are very sticky on the inside. And so because of that, because it is going to be extremely sticky, our spray is going to be our best friend, as well as our saran wrap. So I am going to take my pan and I'm going to spray this just kind of lightly, just to get the saran wrap to stick. And I'm just going to give this a generous coating. Now you could also brush it with melted butter if you don't want to use the spray, but I just find that in this specific instance, the spray just is easier. I do not want to stir this, but you can by all means swirl it around the pan just to make sure that it is kind of all mixing together. And then I'm going to take out my candy thermometer. This is the one that I have. It is the digital one. If you have the kind that you stick on the side of a pan, that works just as well. And we want to see it hit 240 degrees. My sugar syrup hit 240 degrees and my gelatin has completely bloomed. So I am just turning my mixer on low and slowly streaming in that sugar mixture. Once you get all of that sugar mixture put in and it has dissolved your gelatin, you can put in about a teaspoon of salt. I'm sorry, about a quarter teaspoon of salt. That's very, very different. And then you can add in just any kind of extract that you want. I am just going to do vanilla. I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of that. And then I'm going to turn my mixer on low at first, and then slowly I'm going to build up the speed on it. And you are going to watch that magic happen as it just mixes for the next about 10 minutes. Our marshmallow is almost done. I mean, really, that's pretty much all well, it is all the ingredients that we're going to add to it. So it tastes like it's what it's going to taste like, but you want this to dry out a little bit and completely cool. But this stuff is, I mean, when I say sticky, it is just a new, man, it's just a new level of sticky. So tasty. Okay, so I am going to use my spatula, which I probably should have sprayed this before I started messing with this stuff. I may end up having to spray it. I am going to pour this in that dish that I lined. This is marshmallow cream. So if you needed marshmallow cream for a recipe, but you didn't have any, pretty basic pantry staples. Then I'm going to spray my hand and use my hand to scrape this off and even this out as much as I possibly can. And then I am going to lightly spray the top just to make sure that it is not going to stick to the other piece of plastic wrap we're going to put on top of there. So just like that, really, really light, and then spread it all over. And then from there, I'm just going to take my plastic wrap and I'm going to do one more line of it just over the top. So I want this to cool completely. Once it has, I'm gonna pull out that plastic wrap that is completely surrounding it. I will cut this into squares. You can use a cookie cutter and cut it into fun shapes if you really want to. I have found that that can be quite messy, so you want to make sure that you have plenty of confectioner's sugar on hand if you want to do that. But once I cut these into squares, you can drop them directly into hot cocoa. If you want, you can eat it like that, but they're going to be very sticky, so I like to roll mine just in a light dusting of confectioner's sugar, and then they won't stick together. So that is it. That is how you make homemade marshmallows. It's a very, very simple process. It's just a few basic pantry ingredients and you are done.